I think the majority of One Piece fans have a feeling of nostalgia towards the East Blue, especially fans who've been around for a while, like myself. I absolutely love that saga, and I feel a warm feeling whenever I think of it. I remember reading those first volumes back in elementary school with my friends, and it was just such a blast. But as the narrative progressed further, with Luffy and the crew navigating increasingly dangerous waters and fighting almost godlike enemies, I like to go back once in a while and reread the early volumes to relive those humble beginnings. In my most recent rereading, I found myself fascinated by one of the earliest villains, none other than Axe Hand Captain Morgan. As a kid, I remember always being intrigued by him. I have a very vivid memory of my mom asking me which character I would like her to draw for me, and for some reason I said Captain Morgan, like which 12-year-old kid would answer that? But I guess he just stuck in my mind. He is this narcissistic navy captain that rules over Shell's town with an iron fist, or well, axe in this case. And he might actually be one of the most evil people in the whole One Piece world, and I'm not even exaggerating. And I might actually have an answer to why that most people overlook, which I will explain later. On the surface, Morgan might not seem like much compared to the monstrous foes that the crew face later, but I'd argue that he serves a very important role in the story. Morgan is a symbol of corrupt authority. His position as a marine captain should make him a protector of the people, but instead he uses his power to control and oppress them. I mean, the very first time we hear his name, the townspeople are so afraid that they jump against the wall of a restaurant. Which is actually hilarious, by the way. Like, why would they do that? But I would argue that Morgan is the very first true test of Luffy's moral compass. And the first time we see him, he's basically basking in his own glory in an almost comedic way. He does not understand why the townspeople can't send him any more tribute, even though they barely have enough money. And instead he takes it as a personal insult. Something tells me this guy is working with a limited number of brain cells. To talk about Morgan, we also have to mention his spoiled son Helmeppo, who Luffy and Kobe encounters. He proudly uses his father's status to get whatever he wants and basically bully people of the town, like the girl Rika, who he made his dog attack for basically no reason. She's the same girl who later gives the rice balls to Zoro. But Morgan doesn't love his son. He states that he doesn't care that Helmeppo uses his status. I bet he actually enjoys it, as it proves his power. Though as soon as Helmeppo starts talking back to him, he sends him flying with a punch, proclaiming that he only abstained from doing that in the past because he wasn't even worth hitting. And in the next few panels, Morgan's true brutality shines through. He's so shocked that Helmeppo didn't have the little girl killed for feeding Zoro, and orders a soldier to go and finish her off. But unlike Morgan, this marine is not a pure psychopath and refuses the order. Morgan answers with killing him in cold blood in front of all his men and his son. When I first read One Piece, this is the point I started to question if it was going to be a purely jolly and kid-friendly manga that I thought it was going to be at the start. And all this is happening while his poor men are raising a massive statue of him that he wants to put on the roof of his base. And he's also close to killing another one of his men for accidentally scratching it when Luffy suddenly plunges up onto the roof, breaking the statue as a result. And I just love the reaction shot of Morgan. This leads to the showdown between Luffy, Zoro and Morgan and his men, in which he, in my opinion, commits his most cruel act. After his men struggle against Luffy and Zoro, they voice their fear, and in response Morgan orders them to literally shoot themselves in the head. I actually forgot this happened, and while I was rereading it I was really shocked that such a dark and twisted moment appeared so early in the manga. It really highlights just how cruel and unstable Morgan is, forcing his own men to shoot themselves simply because they are afraid. That act shows he rules through fear and not respect. Luffy reacts strongly to this and proclaims that he is Morgan's enemy, not his own men. The fight itself is nothing special, but I've always loved this panel showing Morgan's strength. It's kinda crazy that an early antagonist such as Morgan, who rose the ranks because of a lie, can still cause this much destruction. The finish with Luffy and Zoro working together for the first time is also really satisfying, and it's actually cool that Zoro is the one to finally take him out. But where does Morgan's narcissistic personality and evil stem from? One thing I've always found hilarious and kind of tragic is that his insane arrogance might actually come from the fact that he's still living under Kuro and Django's hypnosis. Think about it. Django hypnotized him into believing that he captured the Black Cat pirates, which got him promoted to Marine Captain. So Morgan's whole massive ego, I feel like it's not just him being naturally cocky, it's like he's stuck in this mental fog of hypnosis, fully convinced he's some legendary hero when in reality it's all a lie planted in his mind. That kind of makes his ridiculous self-importance even funnier. Morgan might not be the strongest or most complex villain in One Piece, but his role is foundational. He introduces us early on to the idea that authority isn't always just or noble, and that the Marines don't always represent justice. He sets the stage for Luffy's fight against corruption and tyranny, and he's indirectly responsible for bringing Zoro into the crew. Morgan perfectly embodies that kind of flawed, dangerous power that Luffy challenges again and again throughout the series. Thank you for watching this video on Axe and Morgan, and please tell me your thoughts of him. Please also comment which character or villain I should cover next.